New tonight, fire instructors from across the nation are in San Antonio to train our firefighters.
The goal to protect and save lives during wildfires, big ones. Eyewitness News reporter Sharon Coe shares why the training here may help other departments all across the country.
We'll need one ambulance for a
high stress filled with distractions. San Antonio firefighters are put to the test in the Rose Hart neighborhood.
They don't know what the scenario is going to be as far as when they pull that truck up. We're going from structural firefighting to where we have to fight a structure and the exposures and the potential of losing a whole block.
This area, located far north of San Antonio, serves as a good training ground. Vegetation surrounds the homes.
Stuff that we're teaching them is not so much stay focused on the on one structure, but to move on and give everything else. Don't bog all your resources on one area.
International Association of Firefighters is leading this timely training. Instructors are sharing tactics to safely tackle wildfires that cross over into urban areas.
I think everyone's seen the massive fires that were fought in California over last month, the devastation, the lives lost. We have some of those same dynamics in San Antonio as far as a fuel load.
The lessons learned and best tactics will be shared with other fire departments across the country to help save more lives.
In my experiences, the last 5 years have been more devastating than ever before. With firefighter fatalities, Corey Iverson, one of our engineers who lost his life in the Thomas fire, which our team was assigned to. Truly, today's fires, they're outpacing the fire departments, the law enforcement.
Sharon Coe, KENS 5, Eyewitness News.